You heard that Self said Mitch Lightfoot actually drew 3 charges, right? But he only got credit for 2.
Sort of a passive-aggressive way of calling out the refs, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's the charge block thing's a hot button issue, right? And those referees love making the charge call. It's like a strikeout. It's like when you punch somebody out. They've all got their different way of doing it, and some of them take that little crow hop. And
I hate when I hate the charge call more, but I hate when the referees make the block call and they really like thrust their pelvis, like almost sensually. Who are you selling it to? Right. Who is this product for?
There's no one that's going to overrule you.
What's funny is when they make those block calls and they really and they really just thrust their hips into it. Do they think there's a part of the crowd that's going, wow, he sure knows how to call a block?
This is Basketball Friends. He's Nick Schwerdt. I'm Matt Tait. And KU is coming off a 59-41 victory in Manhattan. 41 points, Nick. That is the 4th game in a row that KU has held their opponent to fewer points than they held their last opponent to, after giving up 91 points at West Virginia in a loss. 66 to Oklahoma State, 64 to Iowa State, 50 to Iowa State, and now 41 to K-State. And it should have been in the 30s.
I think the first thing that some people will choose to push back on with the numbers that you just gave is, well, look at the opponents that you're going up against. In K-State and Iowa State, that's 3 games right there. 2 of the worst high major teams in college basketball. But if you dive a little bit deeper, it's more than just the raw numbers. That 41 points, that's the lowest amount of points that K-State scored all year. The 50 points that KU gave up to Iowa State, that's their lowest scoring output of the season. The 66 points they held Oklahoma State to, that's their lowest point total of the season. So it's not just that you are having good defensive performances, is that you are holding your opponents to their worst offensive performances of the season.
Yeah, I think it means something. I do. I mean, obviously, all you can do is play the schedule that's in front of you. That's such a cliche thing to say, but it's true, right? Like they started Big 12 play with a rough stretch, and they had to get some of those juggernauts out of the way, and now they're benefiting from that. But it's not KU's fault that these teams can't play offense and that these teams have had bad years. All KU can do is make sure they don't play offense against them. Whether you're impressed by the numbers or not, I mean, on some level, you have to be, man. If you go out in a college basketball game and you hold a team to 41 or 50, they're building the confidence that says, we think we're an elite defensive team. The coaches have been preaching this to them. Defense first, defense first. Well, they finally heard it. They finally got it. And they're now producing and putting that effort out on the floor. They've changed up their defense a little bit, right? They're comfortable playing it now. So I think when you combine all that into one bowl, I think you get a team that they believe they're pretty darn good defensively, and that can go a long way.
KU, its players, its coaches have been trying to drop you hints for anybody who wants to pay attention. Let's go back to January 11th. This is Marcus Garrett. We're getting there. Sometimes we miss our little scouting report details, just the little things that can make teams shoot worse. We fix those things, our defense will pick up. The next week, after the loss to Oklahoma State, Christian Brown said, we got out-hustled. It wasn't that they were better than us as a team. Losing games like that, you have to take more pride in getting on the floor first and defensive stuff and worry about the offensive stuff later. Ochai Agbaji just 2 days ago. What are you working on? More of just defense. It's kind of hard to really go away from defense when we are really thinking about that as being our primary way of being successful and getting wins. What have we talked about all season, Matt? This is a team looking to establish an identity. All along the way, anytime asked about it, we need to get better at defense. We're seeing it in real time. Now, we'll find out what happens these next 3 games when the level of competition raises, but KU is holding these teams to their worst offensive outputs of the season. That's not worth nothing.
You can almost watch any KU game and see this 3, 4, 5 different times. When the shot clock gets under 5 seconds, the other team will get a bucket. There was that one opportunity where Mitch Lightfoot drew the charge where the guy was behind the basket, and it wasn't a charge, it was a block, but he was not going to score, and there was 2 seconds on the shot clock. You could see Self on the sideline saying, 2 seconds on the clock. This team's not perfect defensively. They're improving, and I think that's what sets up this next 3 games as so intriguing. It's really the the final test before March gets here, right? They've spent the last 4 games or a couple weeks studying and trying to put their, ace these practice tests. And now they get to go out and see if they can play real defense against real teams.
Well, the flip side of that is as the defense for Kansas has started on this upward trajectory, the offense has been going in the opposite direction. We've had 2 games now in their past 2 games against Iowa State and K-State, who are not defensive juggernauts on their own, where KU has had 2 of their worst offensive showings. It's got to be really frustrating for a team that has never had everything going at once. There was a stretch early in the season when they were knocking down shots. There was a stretch early in the season where Jalen Wilson looked like one of the surprises of college basketball. There was a stretch there during conference play when David McCormick all of a sudden became your best and most consistent offensive player. These last couple of weeks, you've seen a little bit of everything, but we still have yet to see everything click at the same time. But the tantalizing, the optimistic outlook is the idea that it's bound to happen at some point, and because there's only 3 games left in the season, why not happen right now going into the postseason?
I think that's what's so cool about where we're at right now, right? How many seasons have we watched KU, play the last 3 games on fumes and not care, and they don't matter because they wrapped up the Big 12 title with 5 games to go, and these last 3 were just like, let's just get them over with so we can get to the postseason and see what happens. These 3 games matter. They may matter the most. If they lay an egg, it's probably going to be one of those seasons that, you just hope to get to the second round. If they go 2-1 or, maybe even 3-0 or somehow beat Baylor, I think people are going to start looking at this team as one that can make a run.
I'm not great with numbers, but I'm looking at the standings right now, and I don't see a team in the Big 12 with more wins than Kansas. The first team to reach double-digit wins in conference play. They're sitting there at 10-5.
Are you going to do this? Are you going there? Are you going to be that guy?
I mean, it's simple math. 10-5. Is Baylor 9-0? Yes. Have they had about 2 weeks of their games wiped out due to COVID issues? Yes, they have. I'm just telling you, if some of these teams don't get all their games rescheduled, there's a very good chance Kansas ends the regular season with more wins in conference play than anybody else. Not with a better record, but with more wins. And last I checked, I don't know, is this still America? Is this still college basketball where the point is to win games? Kansas is going to have more wins than anybody in the Big 12. You're telling me that means nothing?
This is kind of like you making a charge call. It's kind of annoying me right now, and I just don't want you to do this, man. You're better than this.
You've seen what's been going on with North Carolina. They had 2 games canceled in the past 2 weeks. I think it was a home game against Miami last week and then a home game against Virginia Tech this week. And North Carolina is a bona fide bubble team. They don't need marquee games. They don't need resume boosting wins. They just need wins. So they put out a missed connections ad effectively. You know what you ever messed around on? Okay, that's a weird way of phrasing it. Right. Do you know what missed connection ads are on Craigslist?
Yeah, I've seen those, on blogs and whatnot. People love them. They're pretty great.
By the way,
you in the airport.
Whoever's the hunky beefcake I saw in the basement of Fraser Library, please meet me at Potter Lake at 11 o'clock for devious activities. That's essentially what North Carolina did. They put out a tweet earlier this week and they said, anybody looking for a home game?
I saw that.
Anybody looking for a road game? We need an opponent. Hit us up if you're interested. By the end of the night, Northeastern came a-calling. These sorts of last-minute hookups, they're fun. They're great for college basketball, and they can be good. Like, what if Gonzaga and Baylor could call each other up right now and say, hey, we're both 1 seeds. Let's get it on, baby.
We're bored. I'm bored. Hey, Gonzaga, you up?
All right, it's time for another edition of Name That Player. The game is simple. I will provide a quote from Bill Self in which he is talking about either a current or a former Kansas basketball player. Matt, it is your job to identify which player Bill Self is referencing. You are currently on a bona fide heater after starting the season 0-3. You have a chance to get back to 500 today after getting 2 in a row. You could make it 3 if you answer today's quote correctly. Here is your quote. He shoots it as well as anyone we've ever recruited. Matt, name that player.
Wow, he shoots it as well as anyone we've ever recruited. Could be a lot of guys.
Just start narrowing it down. Okay, we know it's not Jamari Traylor. We know it's not Udoka Azubuike, right? If you just do process by elimination, you'll get there eventually.
This will only be like a 400-minute episode, too. It's not bad. I don't know if you would do this. I don't know why you would do this, but I am going to say that the answer to this question is Latrell Josell.
That is incorrect.
Tough.
The answer we were looking for was Connor Frankamp.
Oh, yeah.
I would have thought you had two choices, Connor Frankamp or Brandon Green. It kind of feels like you struck out at the plate there.
Yeah, looking.
Yeah, right. You didn't even take a hack.
So if they continue to be ice cold from the outside or struggle on offense, maybe it's time for Bill Self or someone in the basketball office to throw out a missed connections ad.
Put out a missed connections ad for a Connor Frankamp type. Hall of Fame coach who's looking to get my floor spaced. I saw your silky smooth jumper at an AAU event, and I knew I had to have you.
But they already have Latrell Josell.